Continuing onward with a series of long-forgotten weapons that actually pack a serious punch, today on the table something truly special, the Quanta Vandal. Hey guys, welcome back. As always, my name is Leyzar, and today we're going to be re-diving deeper into the Quanta Vandal, a Mastery Rank 10 beam weapon. We're going to have an introductory level setup, but fear not my veteran friends, we also got the endgame setup. We're going to take this puppy to steel path, put it through its paces. That said though, please bear in mind that my builds and guides usually take a more new player friendly tone, simply because I want anybody watching to understand how the weapon functions and how it should be built. So in case you're a veteran and you already know most of this stuff, please bear with me. And with that out of the way, let's jump into the Quanta Vandal. Let's begin by checking out how the weapon handles without any mods equipped, and for that, just a couple of our regular free shots. The Quanta Vandal is something different, something special, and you'll see exactly what I mean. First of all, we're looking at a beam weapon, but this beam weapon fires 2 beams simultaneously at your target. It's got a default multi-shot of 2. And you know what that means when it comes to beam weapons. Per ammo, you are getting 2 damage ticks on your targets, and you're getting 2 beams. That means a whole lot of damage and a whole lot of chance to apply status to your target. But wait, there's more. The Quanta Vandal by default has a staggering range, with no drop-off, of 50 meters. This is not 50 meters, this is 44 to the target. So even from way over here, I'm fully capable of hitting my targets with no damage drop-off whatsoever, no sinister reach included. What you can do is basically add a whole lot of punch through on the weapon and shoot your enemies through walls from across the room, like so. But wait, there's more. The Quanta Vandal also has a secondary fire mode. In secondary fire mode, this one launches these cubes, and the cubes have these little laser beams that kind of try and hit targets. That's just a visual effect. They don't do any real damage, but after 8 seconds, the cubes detonate by themselves. The cubes can also detonate when they meet a target, but unfortunately, they don't do a whole lot of damage, and the range is only 0.5 meters by default, dealing 150 blast damage. And I know what you're gonna say, dude, that's really not all that much. Bear in mind that the drop-off is 0, so you're not losing any damage whatsoever on that explosion, and there's one more trick. While the actual cubes may detonate after 8 seconds by themselves, if you shoot the cubes, you're gonna be getting 6 meters worth of range and 4 times the damage. So basically, you are going from 150 all the way to 600, and check out the range on that one. Absolutely fantastic. So what you can do is kind of chain them together. 1, 2, 3, and detonate 1. And they are just going to be chaining to the ones that are in its vicinity. So you can basically lay out a strip of cubes and boom, 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 set off a chain reaction like that. I found this specific mechanic always to be very cool when it comes to the Quanta Vandal. Now that's enough about its base functionality and mechanics, let's talk about stats. As soon as you get your Quanta Vandal, it's gonna have mod capacity 30 out of 30. Jump into actions and install the Auto King Catalyst in order to double that mod capacity. And the obvious question, is it worth it? Because it's not just the catalyst that you need to install, right? You need a couple of Forma as well. Maybe you wanna unlock that Arcane slot, maybe the XL slot as well. If you're a newer player coming to the game, forget about these 2 slots for the time being. Depending on where you are in your Warframe journey, you might not even see those 2 right now. Forget about them, simply enjoy and play through the story of Warframe, and trust me, you will unlock those. From my point of view, it's definitely worth investing into the Quanta Vandal, but you need to understand you are getting a powerful single target weapon, which is not one of the top 10 weapons of Warframe. If you're the type of individual that simply wants, dude, I just want the best weapons in the game, that's all I care about, efficiency and all whatnot, link the cards right now for a full top 10 of Warframe's weapon. This is still a very powerful weapon, it's just not top 10 material. Still, it's going to be able to shred, especially in single target, as I will demonstrate just a tad later. As for the Forma, free Forma is normally what you need to get yourself a basic level for the Quanta, and you play off of that one. If you got Prime mods and Galvanized mods, you're going to have to go to 4, 5, and 6, especially if you get a Riven. And trust me, you want a Riven, because the Riven disposition for the Quanta, 5 out of 5. That's what happens when nobody plays with these old forgotten weapons. It doesn't matter how cool they are or how powerful they are, everybody plays incarnate weapons nowadays, because they are very powerful. Get yourself a Quanta Riven. They're not that expensive. I'm talking about 30, 40 plat unrolled. Get yourself that fantastic multi-shot as a base roll. Then go to critical damage. You can even get an element. It will increase the level of this weapon by a truck ton thanks to the high Riven dispo. Accuracy is good, but we don't care because it's a beam weapon. You got ammo maximum 560, which is good. Ammo pickup is good. Fire rate is good at 12, but again, we got a beefy magazine at 80, so we're gonna look to increase that fire rate to get even more single target damage out of the weapon. Reload on 1.8, it is alarming. We talked about the Riven disposition. Oh, by the way, multi-shot by default of 2, like we talked about earlier. Critical chance 22% as a base, which is not bad. With a 2.4x critical multiplier, you're looking at 45% status chance by default and electricity damage. And electricity by default, while it may not be dealing as much damage as Slash, it's still phenomenal, and this weapon is going to be able to ramp up those electricity procs like nobody's business. So if you're into endgame setups, purple shards are definitely going to be the way to go. This is going to be for the secondary, though. From this point onwards, I don't really like the stats, because the stats they are showing you here are basically the stats for the little cube exploding by itself. The 0.5 meter range with only 150 blast damage. Again, if you exploded yourself, 6 meter range and 4 times the damage, so 600 blast damage. Let's have a look at a normal standard everyday setup. This is your basic jumping off point, your introductory level build. Damage with Serration, multi-shot with split chamber, critical chance and critical damage through the use of critical delay and vital sense. Critical delay takes 20% away from your fire rate. This is a corrupted mod. You need most of the corrupted mods for your Warframe and weapon builds. And if you don't know how to farm corrupted mods, I got your back. Take the cards right now for a full guide on that one. Now you see my fire rate went to 20 from 12, even though I have critical delay on, and that's because we're going to be using vial acceleration with 90% fire rate. This is your option slot. You can go for whatever you want in this one. Usually I recommend a little bit of leeway when it comes to modding, especially when it comes to an introductory level build until you get used to the actual weapon. If I was to take this one off, my fire rate goes to 9.6 because of critical delay. But again, fire rate on this one seems like a no-brainer, and I recommend you give it a shot. Critical chance is 66% with 5.3x critical multi thanks to the 2 critical mods, so Hunter Munitions is definitely a must, and if Hunter Munitions is a must, then we need Vital on our targets, because Slash without Vital is almost pointless. So Malignant Force as well as Rhyme Rounds, these two will be making Vital on our targets. So essentially our damage is going to be coming from the slash procs generated from Hunter Munitions, but also the electricity procs that the weapon generates by itself. So right now on the weapon you got Vital and electricity. We're going to be testing against level 100 targets. Now for a mastery rank 10, which is what this weapon's lockout is, I don't think you're going to be seeing yourself level 100 enemies, but I just want to showcase what the weapon can do. We're going to be spawning some tough targets like Corrupted Heavy Goons, but we're also going to be spawning some of the new content targets, Rogue Lurven and Hollowed Vein. So you can see exactly how this one does in the new content, if you fancy yourself some brand new content. Go for the Rogue Lurven first. Look at the beam. Look at the damage on that. That damage over time, 55 electricity procs with, I didn't even see how many 8 slashes. 10 vitals, you get like that. So you see, a lot of that damage is coming from the electricity procs, which again, if you go in for shards, try some purple shards with this weapon and the Amprax, it's gonna be absolutely fantastic. But what about the secondary fire mode? Secondary fire mode, even though you can detonate it and create that chain effect, usually should be better off used as priming. If you want to actually kill something, for single target damage, go for the 2 main beams. Now let's try some Corrupted Heavy Goons. These are level 100 again. Some really tough targets with a whole lot of EHP. Look at that. 61 electricity procs on that and some slashes. Absolutely wrecked. And again, you can also use the cubes like so. When it comes to the Rogue Lurven, in case you didn't know, their weak point is on the side. If you need a guide on the Murmur faction, just to know exactly which are the weak points and how to tackle them, I got your back. Take the cards right now. This concludes the new player portion of the guide, but let's go about it a different way. I'm not a new player, I got all the mods, I got all the resources, I got Rivens, everything. Well, in that case, you should upgrade the build to something like this. We're also going to be using a Riven. Again, they're cheap, they're easy to get. If you don't like the idea of using Rivens, I totally get it. You can go for flat damage, even though there's plenty of flat damage on the build right now. You can go for a faction mod instead, depending on the content that you're doing. Keep in mind that there is no prime faction mod for the Murmur for the time being. I'm sure Digital Extremes will add it over time. Because I'm using this weapon In the brand new content, that means I'm fighting the Murmur, and against Murmur I need corrosive and I need radiation, which is why we have radiated reload on the weapon, and essentially the weapon now is dealing corrosive and radiation damage to my targets. It's gonna be absolutely insanity. As for arcanes, I've got primary frostbite and apparently no way to proc it because my weapon doesn't do any cold damage. One option is to go for a little sentinel such as the Diriga. Right now this is the best primer in the game. If you're not aware, Digital Extremes recently made a whole lot of changes to companions and a lot of them are extremely more powerful and useful than what they used to be. Link in the cards right now for more details on that. For the time being, I can use the Hellstrom with the Diriga and use a frost build. Essentially get procs on my targets and proc off that frostbite. That's one option I can go for. Another option is to use the weapon itself. As you can see in secondary fire mode or the radial attack is gonna be dealing toxin damage, and primary frostbite has a toxin counterpart called primary blight. The difference between frostbite and blight is the fact that blight gives you more critical damage while frostbite gives you more moldy shot. It's a bit of a give and take. Considering this is a beam weapon, I would definitely go for primary frostbite instead of primary blight. But again, it's your option. The classic approach, primary merciless. Primary merciless gives you flat damage, but on this build you already have plenty of flat damage. Galvanized aptitude and my Riven has damage, flat damage 230%, multi-shot, critical damage, and minus zoom. It's not a perfect Riven. I would love to get some critical chance because I can go over 100% CC for that hunter munitions. As for vital, because we are putting a whole lot of slashes into our targets, we're gonna be using Grendel's Nourish on Revenant as well as Arcane Avenger for more crit as well as Arcane Acceleration. This is gonna be our source of fire rate. We're gonna be spawning the same targets as before, Rogue Cullervan and Hallowed Vaden representing Whispers in the Wall, and the good old classic Corrupted Heavy Goon. But this time, Steel Path modifiers are on and the level is 180. These are some really tough targets. Starting off with the Rogue Cullervan, we're gonna activate Nourish, then we're gonna go to town. I mean, it's Melt City. If you blink, you miss it. This is the kind of damage you can do to these targets with the Quanta Vandal. It's definitely no slouch. Corrupted Heavy Goons? What Corrupted Heavy Goons? There have been no Corrupted Heavy Goons harmed in this test. It's just all make believe. Honestly, I was surprised as well at the level of damage this one can fork out. Look at that. Essentially, now you see them, now you don't. Absolutely phenomenal. Even the Hallowed Vein, which you know have a whole lot of damage mitigation, if you don't know, check out my full and detailed guide on the Murmur, get deleted quite easily. Look at that. If I stop, you can also see the damage over time. This is the kind of performance you can get out of a forgotten weapon as long as you know exactly how to mod it. But, of course, this is still the simulacrum, so why don't we go for some actual gameplay? The Art of Wombat. Welcome to the... This is not the Void. Welcome to Deimos, my friends. We're playing the brand new content, the Whispers in the Wall. This is Survival Steel Path, starting at level 155, 160. Let's see what this puppy can do. Oh, one thing that I forgot to account for, Fibonacci's obnoxious commentary. We're gonna have to deal with that one. But as for weapon performance, well, we got a bunch of enemies over there. Boom! We're just gonna blow up a couple of cubes. When it comes to more, let's say, normal level enemies like the doggies, you can even use the cubes to blow them up, like so. If not, you can use it as a primer of sorts. But as stated earlier, and as you guys saw, it's no problem in melting essentially everything that comes in front of you. You just keep your trigger finger pressed down. Not even the fire rate is 100% necessary here. Take a look at that. Beautiful, fantastic. You can take this weapon and essentially go through the entirety of Warframe without any issue whatsoever. Just because it's an old weapon, just because it's not the latest and greatest, doesn't necessarily mean you can't make a classic weapon such as this one into a full-blown monster. I mean, it melts everything. What more do you need? I know what you might need. Hold on, Laser. I want more AoEs. Wait, let's try some AoE. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Absolutely blowing up that pack of granted Cullervan and dogs, which are not overly tough. But still, you're still getting plenty of performance even out of the cubes. Like so. What else is there to say about the Quanta Vandal? I can't be objective about this one because I love this weapon. I legit love this weapon. I love old school weapons such as this one, which are quirky, gimmicky, cool. They're spacey, futuristic. They're not the standard bullet host affair. This is something a little bit different than most weapons in the game. Now granted, you're gonna say, hold on dude, it achieves the exact same results, right? Yes, but it does it in a different way. And trust me, the way definitely matters. Flash, baby, flash. Awesome. So the flash was on 3 minutes and 10 seconds. We've been having a issue trying to get acolytes to spawn, so I can show you. Oh, gotta switch. B-roll mode. Here we go. So you can see the actual test. Come here, acolyte. Come to Papa. Acolyte's on the way. I think it's theirs. I think it's stuck in traffic. I think the acolyte is stuck in. Where'd he go? Okay, here it is. Here he comes. I think I'm hitting it. Yes, HP is dropping. So this is the kind of performance you can expect on an acolyte. Is it an acolyte destroyer? Nope, definitely not. But it will get the job done. And here's a bit of a tip for you guys. If you're trying to spawn acolytes by starting the missions from Sanctum Anatomica, that is from the hub, not bounties, the acolytes simply refuse to spawn. If you want to get them to spawn in these missions, make sure you start the mission from your star chart. And I do believe that's pretty much it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Like, favorite, share, and subscribe only if you enjoy the content. If you got any feedback for me, I would love to read it in the comment section down below. Catch me over on TechSide, where I do the same things that I do here, only for tech things. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.